social slime, they don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air, fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes countries laugh to your face, fight and die, 'cause God will give. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social side, they don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear, fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Okay, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Game On. It's, March the 29th, 2016. And we're getting a little bit of truth coming in now, finally. About time. About our so-called government, though. The government boys, the criminals, the mafioso, the globalists, the everything people don't think they are. People think they're a government. They're not a government. They're a bunch of thieves and liars. And sooner or later, we're just going to walk in and round them up. And in the old days, they just take them out back and hang them in a public square or something. But I think we'll just put them in a place where we keep medicated, huh? I mean, this is the front page of the Toronto Star. It was in the Globe and Mail as well, I think, today. And that escalating fundraising demands part of the system. There's that word again, system, at Queen's Park. In Ontario, the Wild West of fundraising, Liberal cabinet ministers are assigned secret targets as high as $500,000 a year, the Star has learned. Now, it's no different with any other party. The Liberals are in power right now, and it's amazing that the Toronto Star put this out. Maybe they don't got a choice. But this is the game, okay? And what they've been doing since forever is making things illegal, okay? And the gambit is it runs forever, right? Whenever their buddies want to take advantage of you, and there's no different in the United States, Australia, Britain, go anywhere you want in the West, probably go anywhere you want anywhere now because it's all globalized. I mean, Russia, the politicians and the wealthy, when the Iron Curtain supposedly fell, went in and privatized the snot out of everything, and reaped the benefit while the people suffered. So it's no different. But this is the history. This is part of the history, and it's a long history. And it's nice to see it come into light finally. Maybe people will go, what? When they read the paper. They're finally going to go, what the hell is going on here? About bloody time. Anyways, Kathleen Wynne's Liberals. Now, it's like she owns them, right? You know, it's the Kathleen Wynne government. It's the The last government was called the Harper government. This is called the Trudeau government. It's not the government of Canada. It's not the government of Ontario. It seems like it's possessed or owned by the leader of whatever party happens to be in power, wherever they're in power at. And people don't seem to catch on to that. Anyway, Kathleen Wynne's Liberals, not the government of Ontario, but her Liberals, will rake in roughly $3 million in a single fundraiser Wednesday night. That would be tomorrow night. At their heritage dinner, victory tables are priced at $18,000 a pop for the corporate high flyers, and the biggest donors are feted at private cocktail receptions by a grateful premier. But that's only half the story of how the governing party raises big money. In Ontario, the Wild West of fundraising, cabinet ministers are assigned secret targets as high as $500,000 a year, the Star has learned. They've known this forever, but now all of a sudden they've learned this. I don't know where they learned it from. Probably somebody that was online doing some research, but I highly doubt it was the Toronto Star researchers. The unsavory spectacles of Ontario's politicians, big business and big labor for events such as the Heritage Dinner is only a small piece of the fundraising puzzle glimpsed by the public. Beyond the showy hobnobbing, shadowy appeals by cabinet ministers for corporate money are the untold story at Queen's Park. Corporate and union contributions that Wynne persist in publicly defending create a demonstrable conflict of interest for cabinet ministers, which is why they were banned for federal parties in 2006 and are no longer legal in 4 other provinces. And yet, according to multiple sources, top cabinet ministers at Queen's Park are given financial targets that are typically in the range of $250,000 annually, double that amount in some cases. These quasi-quotas are never written down, conveyed instead by the Ontario Liberal Fund through the confidential meetings and phone calls. They are the price of admission to power, revealed here for the first time, and they are astonishingly high. The 2 most marketable ministers are Charles Sosa, Minister of Finance, who I've called their office numerous times, and Eric Hoskins, who helms the province's $52 billion healthcare budget. Both are expected to bring in as much as $500,000 a year, well-placed sources have confirmed. Sosa's control of the provincial treasury, tax policy, and auto insurance makes him a prime target for lobbyists in the banking and insurance industries. But Hoskins is also in high demand because of his regulatory authority over drug companies and nursing home conglomerates. Let's just stop here right now for a minute. Now, the problem, and it's not just here in Ontario, the problem is that we were told we were given responsible government or good government, responsible government. There's nothing responsible about this government except that it's a corporation and it makes itself available to other corporations. So what they do is they make things illegal, okay? In the case of Sosa, who is the Minister of Finance, what they do here is they make up banking rules and that, or actually they're in charge of, at the provincial level, they're in charge of credit unions and that. But what they do is they pass legislation which sets up a bureaucracy, basically, that is outside the reach of the Minister of Finance. Okay? Now, so the Minister of Finance, who's in charge of finance, can't touch what was created through the legislation. That's not responsible government. That's giving your corporate buddies a free ride, okay? And Eric Hoskins, who helms the province's health industry, or the $52 billion care budget, are what? Why do you think your kids are getting so many vaccinations? Okay? These guys are putting up the money so these guys keep their job. These cabinet ministers, okay, they're the board of directors of the freaking corporation. You don't have government. Okay, you're being held hostage by a corporation. Simple as that. So they make it mandatory that you have insurance. And who does that benefit? Oh, I don't know. Let's see, the corporate insurance companies. What are the biggest towers you'll find in your cities? The banks and the insurance companies. The banks don't lend you any money. But they legislated so they don't have to. They legislated it so that they can securitize what they didn't lend you. And then the finance minister can't touch them. Same thing in the medical field. Why do you think so many people take so many drugs? Who does it benefit? It benefits the drug companies. And why is the province or your state forever out there hacking away with commercials and that to get vaccinated? Because they got it in. The drug companies have an in with the government, the so-called government. They're just a bunch of corporate dogs, thieves. So they legislate things to be illegal. You can't do this because we made it illegal. So now you got to go buy this or you got to take that in order to be able to operate within the so-called jurisdiction of this corporation. It's not a government. Get that through your thick skulls, people. It is not a government, never was a government. Who else we got involved here? Hoskins defends his interactions with such interest groups, describing it as an important way, I think, he says, for Ontarians to participate in the democratic process. There's nothing democratic about the process. That's a big lie. Asked directly about his annual target assigned by a party, Hoskins chose his words very carefully. I do my best to contribute to the party. I think that's what I'm prepared to say about it. Well, you didn't say much about it. Okay, you're contributing to your party, which is the board of directors in charge of the corporation at the minute. Why don't you just spit it out, Hoskins? Or are you choking on your words, my friend? The health portfolio is a surprisingly big attraction for donors, no doubt, according to a former chief fundraiser for the party. Sophia Aglinonatis, of course, ministers in that portfolio can generate a lot of money, like huge money, she told me. Well, once you get in with the corporate guys and they're buying stuff, who's paying for all this stuff? The so-called government? The board of directors? No, you, the ones who are involved in the democratic process. You're the ones that are on the hook for it. Officially, Ontario's limit on corporate and union contributions is set at nearly $10,000 a year. But widespread loopholes allow firms to donate several tens of thousands of dollars in busy years, notably during leadership campaigns. So who is the leader or the premier or your it doesn't matter who they are, your governor of your state? Okay, what are they doing? You know, people complain, you know, that this, I hear this in the States, there got to be term limits, right, for the people in the Senate and and the legislature, because these people, the ones that can raise the most money, get voted back in because that's the way it works. Your vote don't mean jack shit. Never did. Okay, what George Carlin say? You know, the American dream. They call it that because you got to be dreaming to believe it, or whatever his saying was. Because none of it's true. Never was true. Anyways, let me see here. Yeah, okay. Tens of thousands of dollars in busy years, notably during leadership campaigns where there are no legal limits whatsoever. That's how Ontario's big breweries and beer store and its unions were able to give more than $275,000 to the Liberals in 2013, 2014. How's your democracy, folks? It quickly adds up because corporations can donate a further 9,975 tranches for each campaign period, plus additional thousands to riding associations and candidates. More of a subsidiary firms or affiliated union locals are able to repeat the same sequence of donations all over again, allowing large corporations to easily exceed six figures, making a mockery of the official limit. Do you feel ripped off yet? Now, you take your local candidate, okay? You take your local candidate. These people are all vetted. They're all pre-vetted, okay, that they don't rock the boat. They don't need to know nothing. The only ones that got to know anything are the ones up in the cabinet because they're the board of the directors. The rest of you guys that get elected to the legislature are basically just mules, donkeys, coffee fetchers, do as you're told, run your sound bites, and shut up otherwise. Because now you get one term, you get a pension forever. Okay, so just shut up and do what you're told. We at the top here, we know what the hell's going on. Hence the continuing pressure on Cabinet Minister harvest corporate and union contributions with the legal limit, loopholes and all. Behind the top ministerial drawers, the middle tier of Wynn's cabinet brings in amounts in the range of $250,000 a year, sometimes much more, according to well-placed sources who spoke out on condition of confidentiality because they were not authorized to reveal party secrets. Well, it is difficult to be precise due to the closely guarded nature of the ministerial targets. The annual fluctuations of the sources were still able to provide reliable estimates for many but not all members of cabinet. Now, I just want to stop here. It doesn't make any difference what party it is, okay? It just doesn't matter, okay? In 2002, I think it was, or in 2000, maybe 2000, 2002, Jim Wilson, conservative, Minister of Energy, who was doing his damnedest to work with Maurice Strong and the globalists to take down Ontario Hydro, which they've done, was being flown to meet with Ken Lay at Enron's head office in Houston, Texas, as they put the scam together here. None of the newspapers reported it. If you go to my blog, CanadianTruths.wordpress.com, and just punch in the word Jim Wilson, the name Jim Wilson, a whole load of emails will pop up that you can read through. And you will see what the hell was going on. You will see why your hydro system, your electricity system is the way it is today. Now, where does one of our ministers of energy get off on flying down to visit with Ken Lay at the head office of Enron in Houston, Texas? Why was there a Enron lobbyist attached to everybody in that portfolio that was of any importance whatsoever as they took down our electrical system? Government? I don't think so. People, man, if people read this and they ain't just screaming bloody murder, And I'm talking about the people that don't know anything. I'm talking about the average Joe Average sitting in his house watching his damn television set drinking a beer after a hard day's work. Of which, what's he work for? He works to pay the banks. He works to pay the insurance company. He works to buy medications. While these guys are flying high with their hands stuffed in his pocket or her pocket, whatever it may be. A number of other ministries, it says, with less bankable portfolios responsible for social services or other sectors whose stakeholders have lower cash flow are given proportionally lower targets to reflect the reduced leverage closer to the $100,000 range. Well, yeah, because if you're in the social services portfolio, it's very difficult for the big players to make any money at that. Interestingly, while most ministers are careful not to comment publicly about their fundraising activities, they are intensely curious about how much their cabinet colleagues are expected to raise. They really have no idea and will be reading the numbers here for the first time. What they do know only too well and admit privately is the extent to which they are thrust into awkward situations that strains the limits of political judgment and personal propriety. In other words, moral judgment. Okay? Corporation is a dead entity. It has no moral value. It is amoral by definition. And you, the living man or woman, are having your pockets picked clean by these dead fictional corporations. And you ought to be really ticked off about it. I mean, totally ticked off. I mean, I think this is just a marvelous piece because it's the way it operates. And people got to get their brain wrapped around it. Let's see here. In their day jobs, they oversee public funds just dispersed to special interest groups, the same vested interests that they see after hours for fundraising. Ministers of the crown by day, they are as supplicants by night, importuning lobbyists to lavish private funds on the governing party, big pharma, big banks, big insurers, big developers, big breweries, influencers and influentials, arm in arm rather than at arm's length. Yet Wynne continues to publicly defend liberal fundraising practices, repeating her stance to reporters earlier this month. Asked again on Monday to elaborate, the Premier's office issued a statement to the Star saying they would have more to say on the issue later or in the future. Significantly, however, the statement was silent on key questions posed by the Star about annual fundraising targets for cabinet ministers, neither confirming nor denying the practice. Instead, the Premier's office sidestepped the issue by stressing that the party respects Ontario laws. Ontario, by the way, Kathleen Wynne, leader of the Liberal Party, Premier of the province. There are no laws in Ontario. There are only bylaws of the corporation known as Ontario. Okay? Color of and force of law, not law, similar to like but not law. It's called the legal system. Nothing whatsoever to do with law. As far away from law as you can possibly get. There is nothing that could join legal and law together. They are oil and water. Mix them all you want. You still got legal, which is outlawry, and you have law. So to say that you abide by Ontario law, you ought to be in jail for even saying that. Okay, because that makes you a deceiver. That's a deception, and a deception is a fraud, and you, by saying that, are guilty of a fraud. Let me see, where am I here? All political parties receive donations and hold fundraisers as part of the democratic process. I mean, can you even believe they say this crap? But these are clear rules that govern these activities. Now, that's the star saying, I guess. I don't know, maybe not. Never mind. But those laws are badly outdated. The never ending obligation to raise money, the party burns through millions of dollars a year between campaigns and spends more than $8 million in general elections, places enormous pressure on the liberal apparatus. The progressive conservatives also rely heavily on corporate donations, while the new Democratic Party is heavily dependent on union contributions, which are also corporations. But their annual receipts are dwarfed by the liberal revenues. Energy Minister Bob Chiarelli is among the most reliable of the fundraisers, in the range of $250,000 to $300,000 a year, tasked with tapping into the massive nuclear and electricity sectors that have billions of dollars in annual cash flow. Hence his ability to raise a remarkable $100,000 in a single evening, with Wynne at his side. When Bruce Power brought together a dozen supporters for a cozy Yorkville dinner, as first reported in 2013. Now, Bob Chiarelli, who is the Minister of Energy, the legislature created they were all part of the same takedown of Ontario Party. Each of these parties are involved, the NDP, the Conservatives, and the Liberals. It just goes stage to stage to stage. They are not the ones that make up the agendas. They just follow the agendas and do as they're frickin' well told to do. Okay? Because if they didn't, Bob Rae, by way back, I think in 92, appointed his godfather, Morris Strong, to redo Ontario Hydro. Now, when the Conservatives came in, they should have put a stop to that immediately. No, what do they got? They got their energy minister flying down to Houston, Texas to hang out with Ken Lay from Enron. And now we have the Liberals filling up the freaking province with windmills and solar panels. Okay? And they shut down the coal plants. So they're all in bed together, and who's running the show? The politicians or the corporations? Well, obviously the corporations. Now, Bob Chiarelli, good old Bob Chiarelli, and I called the minister's office on this, and the premier's office on this. Now, what they did with the legislature is they make all of these arm's length outfits. The police are an arm's length outfit. The police. Nobody in the government. They legislated law, okay, which is legal, and they gave the exclusivity to law to a private society, a private bar society who speaks in a jargon that nobody understands, who changes the meaning of words that we understand to mean one thing, but once the legal boys get a hold of it, once the bar boys get a hold of it, means something completely different. Because they write fiction for the benefit of the fictional corporations, to your detriment. So what do they do? What do they do here? They create this thing called the OEB, the Ontario Energy Board, which is charged with setting our electricity rates. But nobody in the legislature, nobody in the so-called government can tell the OEB what to do. When I talked to several of these offices, they agree that the OEB is not even part of the province of Ontario. It's a completely outside separate entity, and it's in charge of setting your rates. Now, the ministry can make suggestions. The Premier's office can make suggestions, but they can't tell the OEB what to do. The OEB then turns around and is charged to set up distributors, okay, who are nothing but a bunch of thieves. Their job is to basically steal your money as the OEB keeps raising the rates on your electricity. And I asked the Ministry of Energy, and I asked the Premier's office, the way I see this is that both the Premier, because I've been hammered by this distributor that was licensed by the OEB. They've shut my power off illegally several times. They brought the police here with their the police run it, and the police are corporate. And they hook up with the distributor, and they come to my home and shut our power off illegally. I got a rental house here that in June will be 2 years with no meter on. They just came and stole the damn thing. And even though the OEB said they couldn't have done that, they did it, and I ain't got it back yet. They can't rent the damn house. They're mad at me because I exposed the fraud. Okay, so the municipality who's involved in it, because they're a partner in it, are being making money through the back door. It's all about a new funding system. Okay, so the municipality pays and hires the police. The police protect the distributor set up by OEB, and who gets beat into the ground? Me. What have I done wrong? Nothing. I should go and see if we got a whistleblower thing here in Ontario, because I have been pounded into the ground for years now, but we ain't going to quit. Anyways, what I put to the Premier's office and I put to the Minister of Energy's office is this. If this is an arm's length corporation, the OEB, that you created, but you put it at arm's length, this is like the child, what do you call it, where they come and take your children. Okay, that's arm's length as well. These are all private corporations set up through legislature to benefit the big corporations and steal from you. Steal your children, steal your money, whatever. They steal. They're thieves. But then the language of the lawyers who write all this crap is the language of the vagabonds and the thieves. Okay, the deceivers. Anyways, I make the call to the Premier's office, I make the call to the Minister of Energy's office, and it's the question. Can you tell the OEB what to do? No. So, let me play this out. So you, the Premier, the Premier's office, and the Ministry of Energy's office, in other words, Kathleen Wynne, and I forgot his name already, from Ministry of Energy, can call my local distributor who is licensed by the OEB, and you can say, look it, man, you guys have been beating on Ron forever here. Now lighten up, put his meter back on the damn house. And the lowest person in that office, okay, the lowest person in that office of the distributor set up by, licensed by OEB, can tell both the Premier and the Minister of Energy to go fuck themselves, and there ain't a damn thing the Premier nor the Ministry of Energy can say to them. Can't do a damn thing about it, and they agree. But it's a democracy. Yeah, it's a demonocracy. Okay? And this has got to stop. Where am I here? Okay. Ministers of the Crown by day. Okay. Okay, I've been through there. Yet Wynne continues to publicly defend the liberal fundraising practices, repeating her stance to reporters earlier this month. Asked again on Monday to elaborate the Premier's office issues statement that we will tell you in the future. Been there, already said that. Where am I here? Never mind that the laws are badly outdated, the never-ending obligation to raise money the party burns through, been there. Let me see here. Okay, at the very time that his intimate fundraiser was being held for stakeholders, his own ministry was deciding on billions of dollars in nuclear spending. In a repeat performance this year, Shirelli and Wynne yet again hosted a similar event at the very same venue, albeit at a reduced price per head. While sitting cabinet ministers declined to discuss fundraising details on record, former ministers are not so circumspect and are now prepared to publicly repudiate what they were once required to do. One of the reasons I quit, and I'm glad you're pursuing this, is I am sick of it. Former Liberal Finance Minister Dwight Duncan told me in a post-retirement repentance. Now, Dwight Duncan used to be the energy minister, okay, under I can't remember his name either because the guy makes me puke. The last premier we had, Dalton McGuinty. Now, Dwight Duncan, this is when I was fighting for people that were being hammered by windmills. Now, Dwight Duncan was the Minister of Energy, and I did get backdoored into the minister's offices. Because I couldn't get in there. The gatekeeping was so tight. And after several months of hard work, I finally found a warden down country from me who knew the head of what the hell was it called? The senior policy advisor for the Ministry of Energy. And I had a great long chat with him. And, I asked him about the head of the president of the Wind Association, who's a good friend of David Suzuki, who came from the Pembina Institute, who writes documents, who's funded by all of these damnable tax-exempt foundations. Who is in the book, mentioned in the book, The Cloak of Green, which I highly recommend everybody read, and you can find that also on my blog at canadiantruths.wordpress.com. Just simply punch in Cloak of Green, and that book will pop up, and it's readable online, and you need to read it. But anyways, I went through and I explained to him after talking to many engineers what my idea of a clean, as you can get, stable, cost-effective electricity grid was about. And he agreed with me 100% that I was bang on in my assessment of what needed to be spent, what needed to be done. And I said, well, then why aren't we doing it? Well, he said, what you're explaining or talking about is sound engineering. What's going on here is called politics. Okay? All of this wind energy and all of these solar panels have nothing to do with saving the planet. They have everything to do with robbing you and destroying your electrical system and selling it off. So now Dwight Duncan doesn't like what he had to do. Well, I've seen the man in action at wind farms. We did a big demonstration there, and if you put in Canada Live, Ron Stevens, I guess, you will come up with my YouTube, and you will find and that was a long time ago I shot that, when they did the Enbridge wind farm up here, which has run many people out of their homes. And Dwight Duncan was here, and he's all smiles and, oh, just wonderful. So these are all puppets, and they don't have any morals. Because if he had any morals, he wouldn't have done what he did. Now he's repenting? He ought to be hung. He should be forced to pay your hydro bills. Anyways, he says, I assume they're still doing that thing where ministers have a certain responsibility to produce, he added. As Minister of Finance, you are in a portfolio where people want to see you and they'll pay for it, said Duncan, who was assigned a target of $1 million per mandate between election periods. It's a wrong system, says Dwight Duncan. John Garretson, who held the sensitive portfolio of Attorney General for the Liberals until 2014, described being deeply troubled by the undeniable conflict of interest. Now, John Garretson, who was the Attorney General, who ought to know better, signed a letter of what do they call it? A letter of understanding or whatever with the United Nations to keep pushing this phony green energy program. And now he's troubled. Now he's troubled. He's destroyed the lives of how many people? Him and Duncan, just those two guys. And everyone before and everyone after is doing the same damn thing. And now he's troubled by the undeniable conflict of interest. Democracy, demonocracy. I hated the whole aspect of fundraising, he said in an interview. Oh, woe is me, but they made me do it because I wasn't enough of a man to stand up and I have no moral fiber whatsoever. I, like Duncan, am an amoral man. If a major issue comes up and you have been funded by lobbyists on behalf of any kind of industry, you're going to be affected by that. It's human nature. Humans are animal. It ain't man nature. Okay? It ain't man nature. A man is supposed to know right from wrong. A man is not supposed to knowingly harm anybody. But these guys do it. And now they're going, oh, oops, I feel bad. Well, here's my hydro bill, you son of a bitch. Pay it. Anyways, an earlier supporter of Wynn's leadership, Garretson, remains confounded by her paralysis over the issues to date. The Premier's fundraising is matched only by her unflinching defense of the indefensible, encouraging her ministers to cozy up to big business and big labor for money, and then granting privileged access in return. It's always been about that. Canada is nothing more than a rebranded Hudson's Bay Company, which is based on the same pattern, the very same template as the East India Company, the Plymouth Company, and the what was the other company down in the States? Anyways, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's all companies, okay? It's all corporations, and we have been made the slaves of the corporation. Okay? We're on the hook. We've been pledged as security for the debts that these assholes run up. Interestingly, though, both Duncan and Garretson use the same words. The system to describe the escalating fundraising demands at Queen's Park, long after they left politics, nothing has changed in the system they now renounce. Both are collecting a really nice pension for life. And they're denouncing the system. Fine. Stop collecting your pension. Okay, put your money where your mouth is, you low-life dogs. Today, however, top ministers have even more stratospheric fundraising targets, and by Wednesday, all members of cabinet will be expected to have sold 2 additional tables in time for the Heritage Dinner. Sources tell me, which works out to $32,000 extra revenue from each minister, with special thanks from the Premier for their contribution to the system she now presides over. On tomorrow, how does Premier Kathleen Wynne defend the indefensible? How does the Toronto Star, how does the Toronto Star defend the indefensible? Okay, how does the Globe and Mail? How does the New York Times? Okay, how does any major paper or media outlet defend the indefensible? Because it was Rockefeller, back I believe in '99, who thanked the media these last 40 years for keeping your promise of silence. Because without your promise of silence, we would have never been able to put our plan forward. And here's the Star, okay, saying that how does wind defend the indefensible? Wind's only been there a little while. The Toronto Star has been there for many, many, many decades. I knew damn straight up well what the hell was going on. The Toronto Star promoted wind turbines like it was going out of style, promoted the idea of closing down the coal plants with this phony idea that 1,600 people die per year from emissions from the Ontario coal plants, even though, and I can put money on this one, I'm pretty sure, in fact, I'm absolutely positive, that you will find no coroner or no doctor has ever written on a death certificate death from emissions from a coal plant. Okay, now I've talked to the Toronto Star editorial staff many times, and they stood behind 100% their promotion of green energy, the windmills, the calling of anyone that was saying that they had to move out of their house. They just simply told them that they had a mental problem, that it wasn't that these things were harming them. They just didn't like the look of them, which is straight out of the manual. So the Toronto Star is saying somebody's in defense, something somebody's doing is indefensible. Burn the media. Don't buy the media. Screw the media. But you don't live somewhere that there is a you don't have a government, I guess is what I'm saying. You've never had a government. And it always amazes me. This story just came out this morning, and I think it was the last show I did, maybe. I can't be 100% certain. But I come up with that word, and there's a very good description of it, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to dig that out. But which is I can't say this, catastrocracy. And it's an actual word. And it was coined in 1829 by Thomas Love Peacock, who just happened to be somebody that rose up in the ranks of the East India Company. And this cacistocracy is government by the worst element of society. Okay, the worst. Kakos, bad. From the Indo-European word defecate. Bad system, a bad system of laws and government. Hence, with bad laws and you're ill-governed, which takes you to the word defecate, which means simply that you are being shit upon by the very people that you supposedly elected. So that is what we're ruled by. It ain't no damn democracy, unless you want to refer to it as a demonocracy, which it is. Okay? These people, all of them, at least in the old days, it goes back to the 1200s, where the Magna Carta came from, which really didn't have any weight anyway. But I mean, if the people in the 1200s were smart enough to figure out what the hell was going on and went after the judges and the lawyers, because these are the ones who write these so-called laws that enslave you and steal from you, take your labor from you, take your liberty from you. They just decided, screw it. The answer to this nonsense is not negotiation with these clowns. It's the extermination of them because they are vermin upon the land. And what happened when the colonists came to America? What did they do when a lawyer showed up in their town or their village? They ran them out. What did they call them? Vermin. And this vermin now has exclusivity to so-called writing, so-called law, of which you were enslaved by, corporate bylaws, by the company, which is robbing you blind and has absolutely stole your liberty, your individuality, your future, your children's future, your grandchildren's future, and the future of the unborn. These are a collection of amoral, evil people. Period. There's no other way to describe this. I mean, I can't think, I mean, the fact that Garrison and Dwight Duncan are going, oh, they're still doing that? I didn't like doing it, but I had to do it. What kind of lunatics are these? They're amorals. Okay, because the legal system, by definition, is amoral. It's all fictional. It has nothing whatsoever to do with reality. The only problem is you've been pledged. Your name was plagiarized at birth, right after you were born. When they conned your mother into registering you, and that you became enslaved. And you became an agent for that corporate identity. You became liable for that corporate entity. So all of the debt is to the corporate entity. But corporation is a dead fictional thing. But we've allowed this dead fictional thing to steal our labor, and our liberties under their so-called law system, which is a system, is correct. It's a system, all right. It's a system to deceive you, to steal from you, written by the vagabonds and the thieves who call themselves lawyers and attorneys. And it's going to have to stop. And we're going to have to cut them loose. And we're going to have to take back what belongs to the people, which is our dominion, which is our liberty. Was given to us not by a corporation, but by our Creator. Our Creator gave us dominion. Go forth and populate. Okay? And everything here is yours for your use. And then that got turned on its ear. And our dominion was taken from us. And we were enslaved. Why? Just because, like we were told, let no man deceive you, or be as cattle, slaves. And that's what we are. Now, if you're good with that, what can I say? But if you're not good with that, and you can honestly see where we're headed here, then you're going to have to get up off the couch. And we're going to have to explain to these people that we ain't putting up with this crap no more. And no, you don't need an AK-47 to get it accomplished. Okay? This is a very small group of thieves. And there's a whole lot more of us than there are them. It's time for the ants to make the grasshoppers extremely friggin' nervous. And that's that. But I do think there's a bigger story here, okay? This story, I don't believe, would have been written, okay, if the idea is that, as Rockefeller said a long time ago, something has to take the place of government. And business seems to be the obvious entity to do it. So they're bringing this story out now. Not that this newspapers didn't know about this like a way long time ago. They did. Why are they bringing it out now? Why is the Toronto Star trying to look like the white horse? When they're dirtier than the politicians themselves because they've been hiding this information from people forever. So what's the story? What's the real story behind this? I got to go back to Rockefeller and the boys who started the United Nations. Okay? And that is the governments have failed the people. The people are indebted to the eyeballs. Okay? They're working up to getting rid of the global debt, which is phony anyways, which they created. It's an unpayable debt. And they're going to keep spending the money. And then at some point here, the plan is, as far as I can see it, is to make a deal where we kill the global debt. We just kill it. Because we care over here at the United Nations. It's not fair. You people should be indebted by these companies who created all this debt. When in fact the United Nations is and was created by the companies and all of these outfits. And then they're going to turn around and say, enough is enough. Everyone deserves adequate everything. So we are going to cancel the debt. We're not actually canceling the debt. You are giving up all resources in your lands or in your nations, and we will administer those resources out to you people in a sustainable manner, which means the Dark Ages is coming. Starvation is coming, and depopulation's coming. So we need to understand that, and we need to get our boots on the ground. We need to get our spines stiffened up. We got to get our minds sharpened up. And we have to say, no, actually, these are our resources. These people that we so-called elected, which we actually didn't elect, have no authority whatsoever to hand over our resources to anybody, anywhere, anytime. We must claim our resources and our lands for our people, period. And we better start doing it pretty damn fast. And that's my rant for today. We're going to win this, folks, because we're supposed to win it, and we ain't got a choice. So, it's start to get the marching boots on here. And I'm not talking about protests. We have to put our what we plan, what we expect down and mean it. We got to mean what we say and say what we mean. We are not giving up our resources to a bunch of global corporations who are going to rule our lives for us. Has to stop. And we're going to win it. No doubt in my mind whatsoever. And I hear music. So, tuned in yet? Picked anybody up? Bad?
Selling lies and buying time.
We're back here on Thursday night, 7 to 8. See you back. Time, everybody's here. That, you're right.